There we go. That's the toxic waste barrel. It looks like a booger.
You should see his face right now.
Have you ever wondered why BioShock is called BioShock? I mean, what's so shocking? Well, it turns out BioShock was directly inspired by this ancient game called System Shock, which was released in 1994, and it is by far the most archaic video game I have ever played. Yeah, the game looks, sounds, and plays exactly as you'd expect from a game that is over 30 years old at this point. Although I did play the 2015 Enhanced Edition, which runs the game in an updated engine, fixes some technical problems, gives you some quality of life improvements. However, no amount of improvements can make the core System Shock experience any easier to swallow. System Shock is brutal. It's like if Resident Evil and Alien had a baby and then someone sprinkled in some shavings of Dark Souls or something. System Shock puts you in the shoes of a vulnerable character who's trying to escape a deadly space station that's been cut off from the rest of the world and overrun by mutants and killer robots. You have to scavenge for items and ammo, find access cards, hack stuff, defeat dangerous enemies, upgrade yourself with all sorts of implants and equipment, and complete multiple objectives across multiple floors of the station. The first couple of floors are pretty light on danger and generous in resources, but this is quickly reversed and you end up playing a very tense and strategic sci-fi dungeon crawler that doesn't hold your hand in the slightest. Let me repeat this, System Shock is freaking hard. Not just because of gameplay reasons, but also because it's super clunky, especially by today's standards. System Shock is by nature a complicated, weird, and often frustrating game. This is partially because the game was just way too ahead of its time and all the jank is mostly a side effect of the game's ambition. Back in 1994, System Shock was basically trying to be something between a first-person shooter and a point-and-click, which back then got the game labeled as an action-adventure game, but that's only because the subgenre System Shock was inventing didn't really have a name yet. System Shock essentially was creating what we know nowadays as the immersive sim, which was later improved and popularized by timeless classic Deus Ex, and then replicated by games like Prey and Dishonored. And back in 1994, System Shock was cooking, but goddamn, sometimes these games age like fine wine, but then they just keep aging and aging and aging until maybe you should just keep the bottle sealed and leave it on a shelf for decoration. In System Shock, you play as a nameless hacker who is trying to steal some information from this mega corporation called Trioptimum. You end up getting caught and brought to the Citadel space station where an executive of this Trioptimum corporation makes you an offer you can't refuse. You hack the station's AI and remove her ethical constraints, and in exchange, all charges against you are dropped, and you are rewarded with a valuable military-grade implant. You do the job, hack the AI, and then you're put into a 6-month healing coma after having the implant installed. Unfortunately, when you wake up 6 months later, the whole station is in complete chaos. There's a mutant virus going around, and people are getting turned into killer cyborgs, and what the hell is that? Now, the footage I've been showing you is obviously not from the 1994 original game. It's from the 2023 remake, which is a lot easier on the eyes and fills in a lot of blanks, but for the first half of the video, you're gonna have to put up with this.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
The first thing you see when you drop into the game is this bizarre user interface that looks like you're playing a Game Boy through a submarine periscope. Thankfully, you can disable it immediately, or at least as soon as you figure out how the UI actually works. System Shock has this weird modular UI that allows you to open different windows and HUD elements in different locations of the screen, which is an interesting concept but ends up being kinda useless and just confusing. Your crosshair also has the unusual ability to detach from the center of the screen so that you can use it as a cursor to interact with all sorts of objects in the world and drag items in and out of your inventory. The controls are absolutely bizarre. I had to Google how to reload weapons, and that's just one of like 50 different Google searches I had to do just to get ready to leave the first couple of rooms of level 1. Because this is one of those games that had a 50-page manual where you can find 3 paragraphs of lore for each type of soda can that exists in the game, but the game itself has no proper tutorial. The first level of the game is Medical. This is where you wake up and realize the whole station has gone to hell. Who would have thought that disabling an AI's ethical constraints was a bad idea? This floor is basically the tutorial level, with heavy quotation marks on tutorial, and I'll explain later. The enemies are relatively squishy and stupid, there are plenty of resources lying around, and navigation is fairly straightforward. It's kinda like playing Diablo, you're just looking at your auto map trying to draw out the whole level until you eventually find the elevator that leads to the next floor. And in a medical level, even though you're not entirely certain of what you should be doing or where you should be going, the level is designed in a way that will eventually lead you to all the right places. Along the way, you'll pick up some audio logs that will give you some hints about what's going on in the station, what you should be looking for, and what you should be doing. For example, one of the first audio logs you pick up will tell you about how Shodan can see through the cameras, and destroying the cameras lowers Shodan's control over that floor, which causes certain doors to unlock and also stops enemies from respawning if the security level reaches 0. The audio logs will also tell you to find and destroy the CPU nodes on each floor, which greatly reduces the security level of the floor and is a requirement to beat the game. In order to completely explore every floor, you're going to have to go on the usual hunt for access cards to open locked doors. Very Resident Evil. Sometimes you have to do these little hacking minigames in order to activate something important or open certain passages. Other times you have to participate in one of the most nightmarishly ugly and disorienting hacking minigames I have ever seen. The cyberspace. It's one of the most 80s things I have ever experienced in my life. It's a very interactive and I guess creative way to represent hacking, but it will probably give you motion sickness, and everything is built out of wireframe. So it's very hard to tell if you're about to go through an opening in the wall or if you're going to ram straight into the wall itself. You're going to be visiting cyberspace a few times, and there will never be a single time when you actually want to do it. There isn't much to do in Medical aside from destroying the CPU nodes and finding the elevator to the next floor, and then System Shock decides to give you a taste of what's coming your way in the next few levels. But before we could... But before we continue, I gotta say, System Shock is one of the most immersive video games I've ever played. Because not only do you play as a hacker, but you also have to be a hacker in real life in order to get the game working properly. After I died to this bullshit elevator trap, I saved the game and decided to log off for a bit, and then when I came back, I realized none of my saves were actually saved. Turns out the Enhanced Edition didn't enhance the situation where if you have a weird Windows username, the game can't find the proper directory to save the save files and just doesn't save. It doesn't throw an error, it doesn't give you a heads up like, hey man, I just couldn't find it, I couldn't do it. It just quietly gives up and hopes you don't come back to notice none of your progress was actually saved. So anyway. After fixing the issue, I had to go through the entire medical level again, but that showed me how System Shock is a very non-linear game. I explored the level in a very different way the second time around, and I actually ended up finding some locations I didn't see the last time. I found some hidden loot, I noticed some details in the audio logs and in the level design that I hadn't noticed the first time around. I was actually starting to get the hang of the game. The graphics weren't bothering me so much. I was having fun. I got on the elevator, I arrived at the next floor, cleared out the horde of mutants that was waiting for me in the lobby again, and began exploring the next level called Research. This is where things start getting a bit sticky.
お前はもう死んでいる。何?
The research floor is a bit less straightforward than the medical floor, and your objectives from here on out start getting a bit more complex. Here's the problem. Our modern gamer brains aren't really trained to pay attention to a lot of things nowadays. In this specific case, it's audio logs. Audio logs are like listening to a podcast while you work. It's just white noise most of the time. You'll be lucky to remember anything after you're done. But the quest log in System Shock is basically hidden in your audio logs. You'll eventually map out the entire research floor and find another elevator that leads to the reactor area, and you'll map out that area too, but then you'll realize there's nowhere else to go and I have no idea what else to do. But if you actually start paying attention to some of these audios, you'll hear someone telling you about how Shodan is charging up a laser to go destroy Earth, and then some other guy is talking about a shield, and then some other guy is talking about the isotope X something something, whatever that is. And you're supposed to piece all of that together from these audio logs that are scattered all around, and realize that you have to go to the reactor level, find this isotope, go back to research, put the isotope in this shield generator thingy so that you can then go to the control room in research and manually fire the laser against the station's own shield, destroying the laser in the process and saving Earth. All of this without a single objective marker, a proper quest log, or anything, aside from listening to people rambling on audio logs. Now I was picking up these audio logs like 10-15 minutes apart from each other and listening to them while clenching my asshole trying not to get assassinated by hoppers.
NANI?
So needless to say, I didn't know what to do. I was lost and confused very often while playing System Shock. We're just not used to this kind of lack of direction in games anymore. I mean, I have complained about how newer games hold your hand too much, but holy shit, System Shock went out to buy some cigarettes and never came back. Just to give you an idea, there's a very high chance that you will come across the button that fires the laser before you figure out any of this plot about turning on the shield. And guess what? You can just go up to the console and press the button with the shield off.
Thank you. You have saved us all some effort by destroying the great later part of Earth's civilization yourself. Please wait where you are, and a Cortex Reaver will arrive shortly to escort you to the celebration.
That's how little the game cares. It just lets you do things like that. Oh, you didn't mean to destroy Earth? Well, why did you press the button that says fire laser at Earth? The yellow paint really is doing irreversible damage to our modern gamer brains. At some point, I just started pulling up some walkthroughs, not to guide my every step, but to just get a rough idea of where I was supposed to be going. But even if you start paying attention to the audio logs and understanding how the game guides you in subtle ways, System Shock is still a merciless bitch of a game. In hindsight, the medical level prepares you for the rest of the game about as well as college prepares you to work a real job. You think you're going to be one-shotting mutants and maintenance drones the whole game? No, you're going to be getting double-tapped by hoppers, demolished by these massive robots, and dying of radiation for the next 15 hours. It's going to take every single tiny stupid item in your stupid inventory for you not to be dying every 2 minutes. And you better find and blow up those CPU nodes because enemies keep respawning and draining your resources if you don't lower that security level. Also, when you first arrive at a new floor, the first thing you probably want to find are these restoration bays, which are basically the bonfires from Dark Souls. And even though you can respawn at these restoration bays 100% for free, they can be very well hidden or very hard to get to in some levels. And if you die without having discovered the local restoration bay, you either respawn in the last one you found, which could be in a completely different level, or you don't respawn at all, and you just gotta reload a previous save file. I know I've said this like 3 or 4 times already, but just to make sure you understand it, System Shock is tough. Especially when you reach the maintenance and storage levels, and then you have all of these new floor options and multiple elevators, and once again, you have a very vague idea of where to go next. The enemies are getting stronger and stronger, the levels are getting larger and more difficult to navigate, your resources are evaporating from your inventory, and it becomes really hard to make any kind of progress. As I've said before, System Shock is an old game. From a time when you owned a couple of games and you committed to those games. If you hit a rough patch, you didn't have a Steam library with 700 games tempting you to just give up and play something else. So back then, games were hard and people didn't have much of a choice but to learn the game and push through. And if you manage to get past the 90s jank and the outdated concepts, System Shock is actually a very well built game. The exploration in System Shock is incredible because you don't have the quest markers, arrows, and yellow paint showing you exactly what's important. Sure, you get kind of disoriented sometimes, but it forces you to really pay attention to everything around you. Every room is important and unpredictable. You have to look for signs and symbols that can lead you to valuable hidden loot or medical areas. You have to understand and remember what people are saying in the audio logs, and there are very small things in the levels that also contribute to a great feeling of immersion. Like, for example, if you walk into a dark room, you can turn on your flashlight, which drains your batteries, but you can also look for a light switch, which just happens to be turned off. For a 90s game, that was unprecedented levels of simulation and immersion. Earlier, I did joke about the game being very immersive because of, having to fix stuff outside the game so the game can run properly, but this time it's no joke. The atmosphere in System Shock is great, and after you get used to the graphics and all, it does get very immersive. The music sometimes clashes with the horror vibes a little.
Gunther was killed today.
But exploring the Citadel station really feels dangerous and scary. Some floors are very eerie, and when you have the cameras constantly looking at you and Shodan triggering traps and mocking you through the screens, you really feel this oppressive survival atmosphere. On some levels, I would notice myself all clenched up in my chair, leaning forward without blinking, because System Shock gets intense like that. It's like you're playing Resident Evil in space. Resource management is brutal, inventory space is limited, every single item is important, and you're trying to dispatch enemies in the safest, most economic way possible, trying to conserve ammo and health items for whatever comes next. System Shock does very well as a survival horror game. Unfortunately, I have to say, despite enjoying my overall experience with System Shock, I couldn't beat the game. The game beat me. I made it all the way to the storage level, which I would say is about halfway through the game, and it got really unbearably hard. You got ape tigers that will rip your head off in a couple of swipes, all sorts of new robots that will just double tap you as soon as you lay your eyes on them. At some point, I was getting one shot through the edges of doors because the game is old. I had no resources left and I wasn't sure where to go again. I always try to beat every game I play. I usually only skip games that are either really bad or games that get too boring or way too hard. In System Shock's case, I was just getting too frustrated with the combat and the lack of orientation, which isn't really a problem with the game itself. I totally understand why System Shock is considered a classic. You play any other game from this time period and none of them are even doing 20% of what System Shock was trying to do. Now, I can also see how System Shock was such a big influence for games like Deus Ex, BioShock, and maybe even things like Half-Life. I don't regret playing it for a second. I'm sure everybody who played it when it came out had an absolute blast, but unfortunately, System Shock didn't age very well. But thankfully, there is a way to experience System Shock with all the good parts and none of the outdated parts.
Where are the balls?
I have to say, as much as people like to complain about there being too many remakes and remasters, and I complain about that all the time as well, but a lot of those have been absolute bangers. Turns out if you just take these old school games and give them a new coat of paint, they can still compete with the best AAA games of the current year, which says more about the current state of the industry than anything else, but what I'm trying to say is, the 2023 System Shock remake is surprisingly good. I had this game on my wishlist just out of curiosity for the franchise, and at some point the game went on sale and my wife bought it for me. And I thought it was going to be a fun video idea to review the old school System Shock and the remake both on the same video, but I had no idea that the game was this good. It blows my mind that nobody talks about the System Shock remake. Night Dive Studios absolutely nailed this project. They managed to upgrade everything that desperately needed to be upgraded. They added new mechanics that fit right in with the concepts of the original game, and they either fixed or removed most things that made the original game so hard to enjoy, while at the same time keeping the core identity of the 1994 classic. The first thing you'll notice is how well the visual style of the original game has been translated into the modern age. Originally, the System Shock remake was actually being developed in the Unity engine, and it looked a bit more realistic and grounded. It had a bit more of a horror atmosphere to it. But the final result in the Unreal Engine combines vibrant colors, intentionally pixelated textures, and a slightly more exaggerated visual style to give the remake more of a unique look that is also closer to the visual signature of the original game. So, the game looks great and very different from the original, but you can still recognize a lot of the scenery, the enemies, and the items. You can also look at what they've done with the cyberspace sequences, for example. It still looks like it could give you an epileptic seizure, but at least now you can tell the difference between a wall and the air. And the whole thing is actually not horrible now. The other hacking minigames, which used to be relegated to like 10 pixels in the corner of the screen, have been turned into these physical electrical panels, which also look very nice and are very entertaining to solve. The modernized combat is amazing, and the weapons are so satisfying. Now you actually feel like you're shooting real, physical creatures that bleed and explode, instead of just clicking on cardboard cutouts of ugly things. Night Dive Studios also decided to add an extra layer to System Shock in the form of a currency system that allows you to recycle junk items and buy consumables and weapon upgrades. Basically, the way it works is most items in the game can now be vaporized into these scrap cubes, and you can feed the scrap cubes and other junk items into these recycling machines, which turn the junk into credits. These credits can then be used to buy food, grenades, ammo, and weapon upgrades from various vending machines and upgrade dispensers found all over the station. This seems like a completely random and unnecessary feature to add to the remake, but it actually ends up blending in pretty well with the themes and mechanics of the original game, and it adds a little extra depth to the resource management system. They've also added this thing called the cargo lift, which is this dumbwaiter that acts like a storage container that you can access on multiple floors, allowing you to keep some items easily accessible even if you don't have enough room to carry them directly in your inventory. I think that's all for what's been added, but thankfully some things were also removed or adjusted, like for example the music, which isn't so crazy this time around, and fits the atmosphere of the game a lot better. The game looks so much better, it's a lot more satisfying to play and a lot more intuitive to control. No more weird modular UI shenanigans, no more clunky inventory management, bizarre weapon reloading controls, scrambling to do simple actions, and so much other bullshit that aged very poorly in the original game. But does that mean System Shock is easy now?
No.
The game has been streamlined just enough to trick our modern gamer brains into feeling a little bit more at home, but there are still no quest markers or quest logs. Enemies are still hard as balls, and if you forget to quick save often, then you're going to be reminded to quick save often. So, as I've been saying, System Shock 2023 is a massive improvement from the classic, but it's still very faithful to its origins, meaning that a lot of the old school concepts from the 1994 game still made their way into the remake. For example, the exploration and lack of direction are still exactly the same. If you're not paying attention to what's being said in the audio logs, you're gonna be stuck. Thankfully, I learned my lesson from the 1994 System Shock, which allowed me to suffer a little bit less in the remake. I get out of medical, go to the reactor level, grab the isotope, fire the laser into the shield, save Earth, and then I arrive at the stage where I quit in the original game. The first fatal mistake I realized I made in the old game is that I missed this insanely OP weapon that you can find in the maintenance level called the Laser Rapier. I'm telling you, if you pop a Berserker combat booster and take out the Rapier, you can decimate an entire room full of enemies in 2 seconds. Everybody online says this weapon nearly breaks the whole game. No wonder I couldn't progress any further the last time around. I missed half the gear and the upgrades I was supposed to find in the storage area. But now that I can actually tell what kind of gun I'm using by just looking at what's in my hand and other basic things like that, the game plays out very differently. The flying enemies are still a pain in the ass, and there's all sorts of big scary robots that can obliterate you in seconds, but slow and steady gets it done. The storage level contains a lot of important items like the motion boots that let you run fast and kinda surf. There's also the first inventory expansion upgrade and the environmental protection pack, which allows you to explore areas with heavy radiation without immediately shriveling up like a raisin and falling over. At this point, System Shock starts giving me Ocarina of Time vibes, when you find those key items that allow you to backtrack and solve some things you couldn't solve before, or go places you couldn't go before you had the item. It gives a lot of depth to these locations and the way you explore them, and makes the Citadel space station feel more like a real place instead of a scripted sequence of levels in a video game. The exploration and progression in the original System Shock were already pretty good, but in the remake everything just feels a lot more right, and I personally love this kind of item progression and navigation style that reminds me of stuff like Zelda and Dark Souls. Next up, the executive level. At this point, I felt like the vibe of the game started to change a little bit. You're already equipped with some pretty wild gear, you can afford to get a bit more ballsy in combat, and there's a shift in the power dynamic between you and your enemies. You're not so defenseless anymore. System Shock starts playing a bit more like an old school shooter and less like a survival horror game. And it's a very organic and welcome change of pace that keeps the game feeling fresh for the next few hours. And it's stuff like this that really differentiates between games like System Shock and games like Ubisoft open world game number 67. One game is painfully stuck doing the same repetitive, rigid motions for 50 hours straight, and the other game is evolving over time and having fun with its own mechanics. And most importantly, the player is having fun with the game's mechanics. The player is allowed to experiment and find out better ways to do things. The player is allowed to fail. This is something that modern games are absolutely allergic to, and you can look up my Hogwarts Legacy review to see some great examples of a game being so afraid to let the player run free unsupervised. But System Shock runs that risk, and it is a risk. Some people are going to be overwhelmed, lost, and confused by the game's systems and lack of clear directions, but the reward for overcoming that challenge is a lot greater than if the game just pointed you straight in the right direction every time and told you exactly how to do everything. It's the same concept behind the From Software games, and many others, and it works. The end of the game is approaching, and combat gets pretty hardcore in the last couple of levels, security and bridge. The game gets very stingy with resources and very aggressive with large robots, and the feeling of despair and vulnerability come back for one last ride. But soon you arrive at Shodan's final resting place. This final stage is unlike anything you've ever seen in the entire game. It's like you are in cyberspace again, but you control like your regular self, holding guns and walking around instead of piloting a weird spaceship. But unfortunately, I do have to say, these last few moments in this weird cyberspace area pale in comparison to the rest of the adventure. It seems like final boss fights are always hard to get right in some kinds of games, but at least the developers of System Shock Remake didn't pull one of those awful endings where the difficulty just suddenly spikes up to infinity to create some sort of artificial climax. So it's a relatively weak, but thankfully painless ending. The hacker's mission finally comes to an end, which means it's time to grade System Shock 2023. I'm not going to rate the original game because I didn't beat it and it's hard to fairly judge such an old game at this point, but I can tell you, without a shadow of doubt, System Shock Remake, released in 2023, is getting a 9 out of 10. Freaking amazing game. Like I've said previously, it reminds me of the best parts of Resident Evil, Dark Souls, the Alien movies, Legend of Zelda, Deus Ex. The exploration is so good and the survival horror elements are on point. The progression is very satisfying. The difficulty takes a while to get used to, but once you figure everything out, it's so rewarding. System Shock 2023 takes the insanely ambitious genre combination of the old classic and amplifies everything that was awesome about it while tweaking or removing everything that was dragging it down. And the result is a game that most people might say looks like a pretty standard sci-fi shooter on the surface, but it's so much deeper and so much more complex than it looks on the outside. The remake is so well executed, it looks great, plays amazing, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who is curious about the System Shock brand and anybody who enjoys a challenge. I really have nothing negative to say about this game, aside from the weak ending and you can't skip the end credits. That's it. Now, I can't wait to get my hands on System Shock 2 Anniversary Edition, although I do own the original 1999 version on Steam. I'll figure something out. But for now, this has been the System Shock double feature. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, a sub, and a comment telling me what's your experience with System Shock. Stick around if you want more reviews and first.
Nice jump, insect.
If you played either the first System Shock game or the remake, you'll notice that there's nothing to eat in the Citadel space station aside from like bags of chips, soda, energy drinks, and some very weird protein bars. So in solidarity with the food struggles of the people of the Citadel station, I decided to order some weird imported foods from a local store that sells that kind of stuff. We're gonna do a little taste test, and I have my wife here behind the camera who's going to be doing some tests too, some taste testing. And we are going to start with the teriyaki potato chips, which are of confusing origin. Here we have the teriyaki potato chips, which are supposedly from Japan, but then it says product of Belgium here on the bottom, and it says that something else comes from the United Kingdom or something. So it's supposed to be from Japan, but I honestly can't be sure of anything really. Actually pretty nice. They're not as crispy and like brittle as you would think. You want to try it?
Yeah. Tastes like normal chips to me.
Yeah, it's not too weird. But I like that they're a bit more firm than the usual chips. I like that. Yeah, that was cool. How would you rate it from 0 to 10?
Maybe a 6.
A 6. I could rate it a 6 too. It's a pretty regular chip. Tastes nice though. It's okay. It's a 6. So we still don't know whether they are from Japan, Belgium, the United Kingdom, or really anywhere, but potato chips. Next up, it's the Fanta Jasmine Peach from China. When I first grabbed this bottle, I told my wife this was from Japan because anything that has this weird scribbles language, it just looks like Japanese to me. But it's actually from China. It's blue, as you can see. Let's see how it tastes. That's actually pretty good. It's pretty good. It's very fresh. It's not too sweet. I would give that like an 8 or a 9.
Yeah, maybe a 7 to me. Because I don't like
7?
Yeah, I don't like it.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I would buy that more often if it was available. Chinese blue Fanta. Next up, Feastables chocolate from some guy, Mr. Beast, whoever that is, I don't know, nobody knows. It's of course, the Mr. Beast chocolate bar, which I bet all the money in my bank account, it's gonna taste like a completely regular chocolate.
Yeah, it's just a normal chocolate.
Oh no, it smells like chocolate. Do you want to see the chocolate? It looks like this. It's a chocolate. It says Feastables, and it said Mr. Beast here on the top, but then I broke it, and now you can see it. Let's taste the Mr. Beast chocolate. Well, it's not bad. Tastes like regular chocolate. Tastes a lot of the almond, actually. That's a good chocolate. I'd say it's okay. It's decent. I'm not a super big fan of chocolate, but I don't know. I'd give it like a 6 or a 6.5 or maybe a 7. It's a competent chocolate. It's decent.
Maybe like a 6 as well.
Okay, 6. That was Mr. Beast's Feastable chocolate. Now we start to get into some interesting stuff. We got Mogu Mogu bubblegum drink from Thailand. Here it is. It's blue again because I was trying to get some stuff that reminded me of like space, System Shock, space station, whatever. So everything that was blue, I was looking at that stuff. I actually got something similar to this once. Remember when we went to and I got aloe vera drink.
Yeah, pretty nasty.
My wife didn't like it. I actually liked it. It was pretty fresh, and it also had these little bits of fruit on the inside. And this is bubblegum flavored. Another blue drink. It appears that in Thailand they also have these annoying bottle cap things that don't quite come off. Oh, it smells really strong of bubblegum. Oh, that's weird. That smells super artificial. If there was anything so far that I would not go back to get, it's probably this. It tastes like you are drinking bubblegum, and that doesn't feel right.
I don't like it at all.
Yeah, it's super weird. Nope. I would give that like a 4.
The consistency is like saliva. Like it looks like you're drinking saliva.
Yeah, it's like slightly thick. Slimy, it's weird. But the fruits inside, it's an interesting concept. When I had the aloe vera drink, it was nice. That one, this bubblegum thing from Thailand is not nice. The Mogu Mogu bubblegum. Weird. Next up. Oh, okay, so now it's my wife's favorite item from this whole collection. It's the Van Olten's dill pickle from the USA. I actually remember seeing these on sale in some places when I was younger. But of course, my parents would never buy this because it's a pickle in a bag. They thought I was crazy for wanting to try any of this. This is the dill flavor. And it seems like it has a liquid on the inside. And so we are going to open this on a bowl or something. Let's try not to spill some weird pickle liquid all over the table. What is going on? This looks like some weird like food you would keep in your fallout shelter. Can you see inside? There's just a pickle floating in some water. How do I eat this? What? Oh yeah, I also forgot something. It says in the website, one of the trademark characteristics of this famous American snack is the size of the pickle. It's a big pickle. I've seen bigger, but I know you can't see my face right now, but something was happening in the beginning, and then something else started happening after the beginning of me chewing this. Do you like it?
Yeah, a solid 8 for me.
8.
Yeah, it's not too sour, I guess.
Oh, okay. You can you want to keep eating it?
Yeah, thank you.
That's great. I actually I wasn't disliking the initial taste, but then I feel like it has a weird aftertaste. Van Holten's pickle in a pouch. Only in America they would shove a pickle in a pouch instead of a jar like everybody else. I would rate it like a 6.5. I was expecting a bit more. At least my wife gave it an 8.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
very good.
We're starting to get into the stuff that I'm interested in. It's the Bomba energy drink from Austria. And it comes in a glass bottle that's shaped like a grenade. It is actually a very, very fun packaging. I was surprised that it was glass. I thought it was going to be plastic. It doesn't have anything in here that indicates this gives you any sort of energy. It has some vitamins, but it's like 57% B6, 16% B12. Where is the energy coming from? Monster energy drinks usually have like 500% of something. Oh no. Oh, okay, I think it's fine. It was preparing to blow there.
Bomba.
Yeah, it would make sense. It's a bomba. Let's try this Bomba energy drink from Austria. Straight from the homeland of some guy, you know.
Spiders.
Oh, this tastes familiar. It actually does taste like an energy drink. I have no idea where the energy is coming from. It doesn't seem to have caffeine or anything. Oh, I know what it tastes like. The color was throwing me off, but it tastes exactly like Red Bull. That's what it tastes like. The packaging and the color, it does seem like something out of sci-fi, but it tastes exactly like Red Bull. So that's a bit disappointing. I would think it would have, just like the packaging, it would have a more original taste, but it just tastes exactly like a Red Bull. So I would give this like, I don't know, like a 5. I was expecting a bit, something a bit different. If you're gonna put your drink in a bottle that looks like a grenade, it should taste like something interesting and not just like every single other energy drink out there.
Yeah, like a 6, because it tastes exactly like Red Bull, but like a little bit lower in consistency. I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be very strong. So yeah, the only thing that's strong about this product is the packaging, really. Next up, we got another product from the USA, another relatively regular product, a Kit Kat chocolate and mint. I picked this one because once again, it's a green-blue food. Food isn't usually blue, is it? What do we eat? Fruits aren't blue.
Yeah, raspberry. Some raspberries are blue.
Oh. Yeah, but okay. But this Kit Kat is mint and dark chocolate. I do like that mix of chocolate and mint. I like minty things. And we don't have these Kit Kats here. It looks interesting. Looks greenish blue, and it's dark chocolate. My wife doesn't like dark chocolate.
Yeah.
You can have that one.
It doesn't taste like anything.
Yeah, the mint doesn't taste all that strong. The chocolate pretty much overpowers it. It just ends up tasting like dark chocolate. I think this is yet another product that if I actually saw on a shelf ever again, I wouldn't really be all that interested in getting more of it. I would much rather, if you want to get something like this, get After 8 Thin Mints, because those actually will taste like chocolate and mint. This just tastes like the chocolate. Which ones have been the best so far? You think the Fanta from China has been the best one so far?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. The Fanta from China is winning. And we're almost at the end. Only three things left. Up next, we are four actually. Yeah, there was a surprise thing in the box that I actually nobody has any idea what that is. We're gonna open the package and see. Next up is the Boba Cat bubble tea from Taiwan. Very cute can. I'm actually kind of excited for this one. I have tried boba tea before. It was nice. It's a bit expensive though. Where are the balls? Where are the balls? This is supposed to have balls. Well, I guess I'll taste it like this and then we'll try to look for the balls in the can. Yeah, it tastes like the boba tea without the balls. It's not bad. It's almost like the bubblegum thing from Thailand, but a bit better, I guess.
I usually don't like this type of stuff, but I really like this one as well. It's very sweet.
This almost tastes like that American iced tea, the Arizona iced tea, if it didn't have like 7 shovels of sugar in it. The balls are in the can. Let's see if we can. Oh, there they are. Now we have balls in the cup. Very small.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, that was going to happen at some point. Let's see if I can drink some balls. Success. You want to see if you can get some of the balls?
I don't think I will.
They actually don't really taste like much. It's just the effect, really. That's not bad. I would give it like a 7, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe a 6.
7. I will give it a 6.9. Now, another energy drink straight from the Netherlands. The Netherlands always does the weirdest shit. They have those biscuits, cookies, whatever. The wafers that have honey in between.
Yeah.
The Stroopwafel or whatever.
That's for like coffee or tea. You put them on there.
I put them in my mouth.
Yeah, I see, but that's really nice.
And now they came up with this. It's from the Candy Cane brand, and they've partnered with Toxic Waste Candy to make this energy drink that is supposedly going to be like a sour blueberry something. What's in the ingredients? Nothing. I don't understand how you make energy drinks and it says caffeine free. Is this not an energy drink? I think the website said this was an energy drink. Well, I guess we're gonna check it out. Oh, it's blue as well. Let's see. Okay, it actually somewhat meets my expectations. You can taste the sour candy. And okay, I'll tell you what the problem with this is. It tastes exactly how you would expect from the can with the sour toxic waste, blah, blah, blah. But then, because it is so like sour and dry, it's not very refreshing. Yeah, my wife just puckered up like, you know. Yeah, it's not a very refreshing drink. I think they succeeded in what they were trying to do, but it's not a very, it doesn't result in a very refreshing drink. I would give it like a 5.5 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe a 6 maximum. And now, our second to last item here is yet another toxic waste thing. A green sour candy drum from Los Estados Unidos. Of course, all this weird shit always comes from the United States. The weird pack, it's the pickle in the pouch, and now it's the candy in the nuclear waste barrel.
You have to show the cups on the end of the paper.
Oh, yeah.
The rainbow here.
There we go, that's the toxic waste barrel. It's a nice container. I'll probably reuse this for something or not. Oh, and the candy is in like these little bags inside the barrel thing. Lime fruit flavored. What is this? It looks like a booger. It looks like something that came out of a giant's nose.
You should see his face right now. Let me try one.
Oh my god. Nothing about this is candy. This is not good. The container actually says a lot about the thing itself.
Gross. No. No. Ew. That's not sour, that's salty as fuck.
That's horrible. I like the sour gummies. Then people told me, oh, but you should try the Warheads. You should try Sour Patch Kids. And I tried those, and they were all the same. They weren't stronger or anything. But this is horrible. This is not sweet. This doesn't taste like anything. It just stings. It's just sour and salty. There's nothing about this that is tasty or interesting to eat in any way.
Straight to garbage.
Horrible. Zero. The soda, the toxic waste soda, in comparison to this, is like a 10. Honestly, like, I don't like wasting food or anything, but I'm not. When am I gonna want to eat this? I'm never gonna want to eat this. The packaging is good. What's inside, it's a 0 out of 10. What a piece of shit. But then the people who shipped this to me, that I bought it from, this isn't sponsored, by the way. I actually spent 34 euros getting this stuff here, including this piece of shit. Where is, oh, over there. They added this thing to the box. It says bonus, and I don't know what it is. It says wild berry. It looks like a Pop-Tart that was crumpled up, completely destroyed. Oh, it actually is. It's a Pop-Tart. It's all destroyed.
Oh.
But it's a Pop-Tart. It's a mangled Pop-Tart.
It's dry. It's very dry.
Yeah, it's all dry and destroyed.
They gave it for free.
Yeah, they just gave it away for free, which is cool. But it was pretty much destroyed. I guess it's old or something. Even if it wasn't destroyed, I have to say I'm not a big fan of Pop-Tarts. I think they just taste like super artificial and processed. But that was it. We tasted all the weird ass foods that I got. Actually, I can show you. It was from these guys. It's a local store. They have a lot of like rare energy drinks and cool imported stuff. And I was really just looking for an excuse to get some of this stuff. And that was it. So I think our favorite, both me and my wife's favorite, was the Chinese Fanta, the peach and jasmine Fanta. You also like the potato chips and the teriyaki potato chips. Oh, this is a mess. Here are all the cups. So this is obviously the Bomba. I think this is the Fanta. That is very nice. This is the sour thing, the toxic waste. Oh no, this is the bubblegum thing from Thailand. Now, it's not awful, but it does have a weird spit consistency.
Yeah.
And this is the bubblegum cap thing. Yeah, it's basically boba tea in a can. And that's it. And there's a pickle over there, and there's a toxic waste barrel. The toxic waste barrel was the worst. Yeah. The pickle was meh, okay. That was fun. Maybe next time I'll try to be less experimental with the weird ass sour candy and shit, and just actually try to order something that's tasty. My wife is eating the teriyaki potato chips behind the camera. I gotta eat something like that isn't junk, because I did not have lunch. Before this, I had one coffee. I need to go eat some like pasta and chicken or something. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this small little bit at the end of the video. Leave a like and a comment and a sub if you want to keep watching more video game reviews, first impressions, and maybe some more weird stuff like this. Don't trust anything that comes in a container that looks like toxic waste. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.